Right, so in today's video, we're going to be talking about a situation that has really been going on for decades at this point, but more specifically, the situation that has blew up on TikTok over the past few days is to do with a lawsuit that has been happening since 2016. And even though this lawsuit has been going on for the best part of a decade at this point, it's really within the last few days that a lot of people have actually really found out about it, and a lot of people are giving their thoughts over on social media, not just TikTok, and these videos are getting like millions and millions of views, and it's made a lot more people aware of this, me included. I wasn't aware of this until the last couple of days. And this is actually all surrounding Ugg boots. And if you're anything like me, when I first heard that, I was thinking, how is a situation with Ugg boots been going on for decades, a lawsuit that's been going on for the best part of a decade? Like, I was a bit confused, but let's get into all the details. Right, so a couple of companies you need to be aware of here, right? The first one being Decker's brand, which actually owns Ugg, which you would probably see in like UK stores, American stores, I believe the vast majority of countries other than Australia and New Zealand. And the second company to be aware of is Ugg Since 1974. And as you can see here, it says Australian made, but the logos look very similar, don't they? And in fact, it's not just the logo, it's the boots themselves. Like if we have a side-by-side comparison here, like the boots, first of all, look very similar. Also, the logos on the back look very similar. Now, up until this situation going viral, I didn't know the history of Ugg boots. I didn't really know anything about Ugg boots, quite frankly, and I always just assumed that Ugg, the company that I would see in like UK stores here, was like the originators. And I also thought the word Ugg was just the brand name. That's the name of the brand, that's where it came from. And to be fair, it seems like that is what Decker Brands wants you to believe. But for this lawsuit that we'll get into, and just the whole situation in general, we have to look into the history here. So it turns out the name Ugg Boot doesn't come from the Decker Brands company that we would see in stores. In fact, Ugg Boots was just a name of sheepskin boots in Australia. And in fact, if we look at this page on effingaustralia.com, it says the earliest known commercial manufacturing of the boot was in 1933 in New South Wales by a company known as the Blue Mountains Ugg Boot Company, followed by Frank Mortell's of the Mortell Sheepskin Company in the 1950s, and is still operating today. Frank Mortell claims he was the first to name his company's boots Ugg Boot in 1958 after his wife commented that the first pair he made were ugly. Now, when I was actually looking into this, it seems like a lot of people have claimed that they were the first people to call them Ugg boots, and they have like the different reasonings for this. I'm not sure if it's actually like really officially known, but there is a few like theories out there. But either way, Ugg boots became like a mainstream fashion trend in the 1970s, specifically among like surfers in Australia. And one surfer from Sydney called Shane Stedman decided to trademark the term Ugg boot, Ugg spelled UGH, and has since claimed many times publicly that he was the one to have invented the Aussie icon. And then as this trend was growing and growing in Australia, it started making its way over to America in the 1970s. People started being made aware of these Ugg boots, and according to Everything Australia, a surfer named Brian Smith actually made the leap to go over to America with a suitcase full of sheepskin boots. And once Brian made his way over to America, he ended up trademarking the term Ugg, original Ugg boot, Ugg Australia, and so on, and the business grew from there. And then this is where Decker's Corporation comes into it, because they actually purchased these trademarks from Brian, who came over to America, for $14.6 million. This is in 1995, and then by 1999 began asserting its new trademark by sending out cease and desist letters to Australian manufacturers that were selling sheepskin boots outside of Australia. So in a nutshell, they took advantage of the fact that the term Ugg boots was more of just like a generic term for this type of boots over in Australia, and because it wasn't just a generic term in America, they made that the brand, like Ugg boot, and because of that, they ended up sending cease and desist to a bunch of these Australian companies. And if we read on further, it actually got so bad that after these cease and desists and legal threats started coming out, a bunch of manufacturers formed the American Australian Sheepskin Association to help fight the corporation claim, arguing that Ugg is a generic term for sheepskin boot used in Australia for over a century. Now, the conclusion of this has been a little complicated. In fact, it's still really ongoing, right? Like, these companies are fine to sell Ugg boots in Australia. Now, when it comes to selling overseas, that's where it gets complicated with the trademarks. And yes, legally, that is what trademarks are for, right? But you can imagine being one of these companies that were around way before Decker's Corporation even got involved, who have maybe grew up or for a long time just been calling these boots Ugg boots, you know, the same way here in the UK, we say trainers instead of like sneakers. But now all of a sudden you're getting legal threats for using said generic term. Now more specifically with this situation that we're talking about today, the brand that we mentioned earlier, Ugg Since 1974, that have been around since before the Ugg brand that we would be aware of in like UK stores, American stores, many other stores around the world. They have actually been involved in a lawsuit for the best part of a decade from Decker's Corporation, and yeah, they are being sued basically for using the word Ugg. And I think it's important to know, right, they didn't just have the name Ugg and called these Ugg boots before Decker's Corporation got involved. The look of the boot's the exact same, the logos look very, very similar too. And from everything that we can see, they had it first, which probably makes these comments that we read from Deckers Corporation even more frustrating. But when they answer questions about Ugg since 1974, they say things along the lines of, Deckers Brands is the exclusive owner of the Ugg brand in the United States and worldwide in over 150 countries. A company spokesman told FN, Deckers remains committed to vigorously enforcing its intellectual property rights to protect our consumers from being deceived into buying infringing products. And as you can imagine, that must be incredibly frustrating if you're a company like Ugg since 1974, because even though it is true, right, they have the trademark rights to this name in many different countries, they're basically calling your company knockoffs when you were there first. But now this is where we get to the last couple of days, because the Ugg since 1974 TikTok account with around 350,000 followers actually recently uploaded a video which is currently on 11.5 million views talking about this lawsuit. And in fact, the person talking in this video is Todd, who I believe is the grandson of the founders of this company. So he starts off the video by explaining that they are being sued by Deckers Corporation and then explains who they are.
Hi guys, I'm Todd from Ugg Since 1974 and we've got something really important to share with you guys. We're being sued by Deckers Outdoor Corporation. Deckers Outdoor Corporation is the Ugg brand with the big G in the middle of the word Ugg.
And then goes on to explain that they've been making Ugg boots for 5 decades. At this point, they actually own the trademarks over in Australia and New Zealand.
So here's the situation. We've been proudly making Australian boots for over 5 decades and 3 generations. And we also own the trademark here in Australia and New Zealand, where the boots originated, where Ugg boots originated.
And then goes on to explain how hard it is to actually share this with the rest of the world because of this ongoing lawsuit, especially as a family-owned business going up against this multi-billion-dollar business.
But the Deckers lawsuit has made it hard to share our story and our boots with everyone else within the world. It's extremely hard to fight a lawsuit against a multi-billion-dollar company, especially as a family-owned, Australian-made business. Now, due to this scenario, we've decided to transition our brand to Since 74. In Australia and New Zealand, we will always, forever be Ugg Since 1974. But for those boots leaving our borders and heading over to you guys overseas, we will transition our brand to Since 74.
So yeah, as you just heard, they've kind of been forced into rebranding for everywhere outside of Australia and New Zealand. They're having to drop the word Ugg from it, and they're going to be called Since 74. That's how it'll be branded. And yeah, I think that shows just how shitty this situation must be, because legally, if Deckers Corporation own the trademarks, then yeah, they can do this, unfortunately, even if a company was there first, even if it originated in Australia and it was just like a generic term for these style of boots. But even though they can clearly do this legally, because they are doing it legally, it's a shame because it wipes out like the history of this boot, the fact that it was called Ugg boots before they were even involved. And to a lot of people, and me included until I saw the situation, a lot of people believe that like Ugg boots are just Ugg boots, you know, the ones that we see in stores. That's where they originated from. They came up with the concept, when clearly that is not true in the slightest. Which I guess goes to show the fact that they are targeting these family-run businesses in the country where these boots actually came from in the first place. It's working for them in that sense, because a lot of people don't actually know what's going on and they don't know where the boots came from. And I mean, I can't imagine the stress being like a family-run business having to try and take on this multi-billion-dollar company with all the money in the world in this lawsuit, especially since it's been going on since 2016. I can't imagine the stress of that. Now, Todd does go on to say that this changes nothing other than the name that you see on these boots outside of Australia and New Zealand, and they will always be the original.
Now, this brand doesn't change who we are, what we believe in. Our roots are still the same. Our quality is still the same. The product is still the same. And more importantly, our story is still the same. We are the original and we will still be the original no matter what our label says on the back of our boots.
And then Todd goes on to talk about the support and how important it is, and says that even with this rebranding, the lawsuit is still ongoing.
Support means everything to us. Every like, every comment, every share helps us amplify our voice, and it shows a small business like ours can stand tall even in the face of challenges like this one. This lawsuit is still ongoing, and it isn't just about boots. It's about resilience. It's about community. It's about staying true to what you believe in. And most importantly, it's about you being able to have the choice to purchase what you want to purchase. We need you guys now more than ever. We don't ask you to spread anything that you don't feel comfortable with. Just tell the truth. Tell what you know. Spread the story that's being told. Everything you say and everything you do assists in this process. We truly do thank you.
So yeah, with this lawsuit still going on, I don't know how far they're going to try and go here. I've seen many articles about Deckers Corporation targeting companies that are making boots that look similar to their boots, and not just because of the name, just the fact that they're styled similar, which I think should go without saying would be absolutely mental if they try to do it in this case, you know, targeting a style of a boot that came before theirs. But who knows? Like I said, I saw a good few articles talking about these styles. Now, I do think that the companies that were targeted before were maybe companies that made the boots after them, so obviously it is a difference. But yeah, overall, I think it's just a big shame, because if they own the trademarks in like over 150 countries apparently, like they can do this, and clearly they are doing it. And it's a big shame for these companies like Ugg Since 1974. Now, in case you were thinking of making a purchase, just to show you the new logo outside of Australia and New Zealand, we can see a difference here. So this is the logo from Australia and New Zealand, and this is the new logo outside that says Since 74. But like Todd mentioned earlier, everything's the same other than the logo. Now, since Todd posted this video, this situation just completely blew up. So many TikTokers were talking about this. I'll show a couple of examples here. There's this one, for example, by Eliana Shiloh. I'm so sorry if I pronounced that wrong. But this video in particular, talking about this, is on over 5 million views, and she starts off by saying that, yes, like, Ugg boots is kind of like the name of the boot, but the style of the boot and the logo was very similar to Ugg Since 1974.
Ugg is a type of boot, but the logo and styles were very, very similar to that of a generational family-owned business that was a small business in Australia. Now, while Ugg Since 1974, the Australian family-owned business was making these high-quality Uggs made of Australian leather, custom, way more accessible to people with disabilities because of the customization, and making each pair of Ugg boots for each person that orders, the American Ugg company moved their operations over to China, operates under the umbrella of Deckers Outdoor. Now, I'm not going to insinuate that there is some questionable labor happening over there, but the shoe fits. Anyways, cut to. I have been in contact with Ugg since 1974 since I made that video. We have grown a relationship to made me my very own pair of custom boots. A couple months ago, I noticed that their pages were not on social media, and I reached back out to them and they were like, we can't talk about this right now. Yesterday, they let me know that Ugg is suing them.
And then Eliana goes on to give her thoughts about the lawsuit and encourages people to shop small and support this family-run business that is potentially almost being taken out by this multi-billion-dollar business.
Ugg really said, you know, these Ugg boots that are Australian, we don't want you to sell them anymore, even though you've been doing it for longer than us and you started this and it's originated from your country. We actually don't want you to do that anymore. So now Ugg Since 1974 is fighting this huge lawsuit and having to change their name and all of these things. Now, TikTok might be getting banned in the next week, but I wanted to use my platform in the meantime to tell you guys to shop small. Don't let these huge companies just monopolize an entire market and take out small family-owned businesses that started it. I can personally attest to the fact that Ugg Since 1974 makes really high quality shoes. So if you're actually looking for a true pair of Uggs, you should check them out.
And like I said before, there are so many videos by different creators talking about this situation. Another one, for example, is from Amanda Rollins, who made a video kind of talking about similar stuff, like goes on to mention the lawsuit and whatnot, but overall is encouraging people to support this business.
I'm so mad for them. This is not sponsored. No one's paying me to say this. I just really care about justice and what's fair, and this is incredibly unfair. Okay, I've had this pair for like 2 months now. I wear them literally every single day. They are the most comfortable shoes that I own. They're amazing. But the best part is, while I'm walking around, I feel good about myself knowing that I'm supporting a small business who cares about quality. So if you were ever in the market to buy yourself a pair of Uggs, go buy a pair from them. Buy a pair from Ugg Since 1974. So messed up. I feel for them so badly. I don't need a second pair, but I'm tempted to buy a second pair just out of like, you know, protest.
Now, looking at the comments on all these videos, it seems like people have very similar opinions. I mean, if we go back to Todd's video, like the original video that blew up, I mean, first of all, we see a lot of comments from people just saying stuff like, I thought Ugg was the Australian Ugg, didn't realize there was two, so why are they suing you? Did they use the word Ugg first for their company? So a lot of people were just like confused. I don't think, like myself, a lot of people knew about the history of it. But overall, for the people who do understand it, the opinions seem pretty unanimous. I mean, a lot of people just saying stuff like, so Uggs are knockoffs to the original Uggs. We'll never buy from Ugg again. Sorry you're going through this. We've got one person here saying that this should be a Netflix documentary, and that's got 80,000 likes. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised. But yeah, it seems like unanimously, the response is that people want to support Ugg Since 1974 in this situation. Regardless of the trademarks and what Deckers Corporation can do legally, clearly, a lot of people morally want to support Ugg Since 1974 in this situation because of everything that we spoke about. But yeah, either way, that's the situation. I would love to know your thoughts in the comment section down below on what you think about everything that we spoke about. If you did enjoy, please do leave a like, subscribe, all that stuff. And until the next one, I'll see you guys in a bit. Alright, goodbye.